So for those who are, have been living under a rock, can you start by telling us where the whole Werq the World, how it came to fruition?
Yeah. We're winding back 2017, I believe. We've been doing RuPaul's Drag Race events and just, small format tours for about in season one, I think. Yeah. Brandon Voss of Voss Events. He, started with the very first season with Bibi Zahar Benet, did the grand finale party event for her crowning, all of that fun stuff from very beginning of season one, culminated into this, show of this type of show that we would put together, where we're featuring queens of the newest season or, featuring the finalists of the season, or maybe if we were doing a holiday show like for Halloween, we would cast these queens from all these seasons of Drag Race. And, we put together a thematic show for around that holiday. And so all of those little types of vibe events and shows have amounted to what we would, call then like our, turning point at Voss Events where we've like, so let's just do the full tours. Let's go international. Let's, go big and go home. Go big or go home. So we definitely didn't go home. We just kept going big and big and big and bigger. And now it's gone from a 500 capacity venue here in New York City that we used to do press events at to now a 10,000 capacity arena in say the UK or Toronto. I think we're actually in arenas now in Australia. So it's like even there, we would send queens out to do the little bar gigs, and then now they're at the Margaret Court Arena of all places in Melbourne. So it's a big come up, and I think we're always looking for that new tent pole. Like last year, we just found ourselves at Radio City Music Hall. Like who would have thought, being a New York-based company, hey, we made it to Radio City. That's like I think that's the creme de la creme. You can't get better than that. But hey, we're gonna find that next better thing.
Absolutely. And we got to witness the show here a few years ago when it was at Kiva Auditorium. And I mean, how long does it take to create a show of this magnitude?
Oh, well, if it weren't for, the help of the team, I guess you could say, we always have the creative team. You go in with the producer that handles the music, you have the choreographer who's handling, everything to do with movement and just blocking on the stage. And then the queens themselves, they're helping bring in the flavor of themselves and their performance. So obviously it's super important to, get the whole team in together at the same time. So you're creating that vision, side by side, parallel. And, the magic that comes from those numbers are because, we all love what we do. We all take pride in what we do. And we're excited to get that queen to show the best version of herself on that stage. So it always amounts to something incredible. And obviously a few shots backstage before the performance always help. So,
so this is, if I'm correct, is this 15 seasons of RuPaul now?
Well, yeah. I think we're going on 16 now. So,
so
it's been a lot.
Yeah, how do you even go about choosing who goes on the tour? Like who the perfect round of queens are going to be for each tour that goes out?
Choosing the queens is probably the hardest decision of any tour, I think, that gets put out there. And, you find what works and what doesn't, and the queens that work and the queens that don't. So, who's showing up to the meet and greet, who's showing, up to get in drag 10 minutes before the show is about to begin. Those are the types of people that you can, find on the drag race, circuit. So we like to work with queens that obviously we invest our time and manage in. So the queens of the Voss roster, you would see probably behind me. Yep. First and foremost, we work with them because obviously we already invest a lot of our time in them. But then the queens that we like to bring in to complement, the show, we like those queens are obviously the finalists of the most recent season. Sometimes we like to take what we call a legacy queen from like seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just those first 10 years. There's just so many queens to choose from. And we like to pick the queens that obviously have the fans in a chokehold. So, the ones that aren't letting them down, they may not have been popular on TV, but hey, Vanessa Vanjie Mateo eliminated after one episode. We like her. The fans like her. Now she's on our tour. So those little, variables all amount into what we call our cast, and usually it all works out very well. But that one of those first years, it was very tough because you had, let's see, Shangela, Violet Chachki, Alyssa, Latrice, the list goes on. I think Willem was on that at one point. That's a lot of strong personalities, and so you find maybe all of the strong personalities. It's good to have one or two of them, maybe not eight of them. Oh, you learn that pretty early on.
I could imagine. I could imagine.
Yeah.
So where did the inspiration come from for this year's show, which is Cyberpunk? And who do you
Yeah.
have as part of the team that helped create it?
Well, so the first year of like Work the World, we called it Queens Work the World. It was just like a world international theme. Each queen selected a country and they represented that country, very Miss Universe America pageantry, and then the pageant, the page, as they like to call it, transformed into our travel theme. We looked, I think it was like a Chanel runway show, forget, like a spring or summer
Yeah.
2006 or something, and all these Chanel like air stewardess costumes were being run down the runway, and I think Victoria's Secret did something like that too. So we took that inspiration, created a traveling theme. We're traveling to these international countries, so now we have like a theme, a story behind like the show at this point. Because the first year we just like threw the queen on stage and said, "Go dance."
Like, go
But
do your
now,
thing. Make it look good.
exactly, exactly. They knew exactly what to do because they had all
Mhm.
strong personalities. But now, with the upcoming years, that were in the pipeline, you have some kind of story. What's bringing people back? People need to be pulled in. A song and dance lip sync isn't always going to do it, so you have to throw in a little more sprinkle of story, and that became to a year where we're like, let's go to space. We've worked the world, let's go to space. So we started working the planets. I guess every queen was, Mars, Venus, Saturn, the queen of that planet. After we conquered, the worlds, we said, okay, what do we do next? We've conquered, space. I guess we go to time, Then we said, let's go back in time. And so each queen was assigned then a queen, or they picked a time period that they found themselves to be interesting and could, make a number out of. So you had queens that like Queen of the Neanderthals, Queen of what was it? Ancient Egypt, stuff like that. So after we went through different time periods, we're like, wow, okay, now we're getting really, really extra with how we're going about the story. Where do we go next? We've gone through, traveled through space, we've traveled
Mhm.
through time. Where do you travel to next? The Matrix came out of that. So yeah, I kind of was pushing that one really hard because I'm like, guys, like we have such a great opportunity. The metaverse is huge. Like we need to do something with we're just getting more meta. So let's just call it is. It's the metaverse. We're in our own like simulated worlds.
Yep.
From simulated worlds came like this Matrix theme, and we're like, oh God, people love the Matrix, and it's just like it just came back like a year or two ago. So why don't we take what's not, broken, what's always on top of everyone's mind, which is technically also a very strong transgender allegory within the Matrix films. And that's the topic of discussion right now. Like yeah, I think that idea came, just based on like, well, what are we doing next? Where are we going? The story progressed so far that it turned into our cyberpunk Matrix theme, and that's how it is.
My goodness.
So,
And just going back to what you mentioned, which I wanted to touch on, I mean, we're dealing in this world right now with some outrageous laws that are being created just to pigeonhole
yeah,
people because some people don't like what they see. So, I mean,
yeah.
has the tour experienced any difficulties with that, or have they been welcomed with open arms?
It's been different, I think, but this year's tour announcement, we didn't have what we had uh going on, I guess. The situation that was given, I think we tried to make the best of, and we understood that, some drag was taken the wrong way, and we wanted to set ourselves apart from the drag that was maybe viewed on Fox News a few months prior to us going on sale. We're a show first and foremost. We act as if we were like a musical with swings and a cast that changes, and lineup varies by city. All queens are different. So We always get that complaint, well, this queen wasn't here, this queen wasn't here. Well, it's like a Broadway show, you know, some queens can't make it in the cast, we have a swing.
Exactly.
And yeah, so with this year's show, we approached it differently with, you know, going about our content of the show. You know, drag queens are going to be, you know, you know, talking like sailors. So it's like we don't want to have to hear any kind of vilification of, you know, my son heard you say the F word. So
Almost
I
like
got it
they forgot what
recorded.
the
I'm
show
setting
was.
yeah, it's like, hold on. We're tongue in cheek, camp, camp,
Mhm.
camp. So to get rid of that, we raised the age to 18. You know, we don't want to be seen as the reason why, you know, anyone's losing any more rights. We want to be the reason why people are championing rights, right? So we're taking it, you know, city by city, day by day, show by show. I think we'll go through this tour with a little bit more of a, you know, just an idea that something could be made something out of nothing. And I think we just want to stay away from that as possible, much as possible. But because we're 18 plus now, there's no hold, it's all holds barred, no holds barred. Like this show is going to be crazy this year.
Oh,
So, um, I can't even say it because it's inappropriate, but like some of the story beats are just so funny because like the way we connected to the show through the Matrix, the allegory of that to
mhm.
that, you'll be laughing your ass off. That's all I'm gonna say because now we can get away with it, 18 plus. So
Yep.
should
Well,
be fun.
we're excited about it coming out here to Rio Rancho, and just for those, because as you mentioned, not all queens are going to show up, and it's going to be different cities, different queens. So, where can people learn more about the event?
Let's say you go to worktheworld.com, check up your local listings right there, and obviously connect with the queens up on their socials. You know, check and see if they're not going to be there, unfortunately. God forbid. But you know, we'll always supplant that with a killer queen, regardless, you know, of who's gone and who's not there. We're always giving the correct show, no matter what.
Wonderful. Well, Jon, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us, and continue to keep up the good work and bringing out these awesome shows.
Great. Thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you for having me today.